I decided to take a pretty good long break from YouTube, and I was under the assumption that I'd be coming back to quite a bit of Star Wars news to catch up on. And lo and behold, to the surprise of nobody, we are right where we left off. So, yay me. Hello everyone and welcome to Star Wars on High. Thank you for stopping by. I am very, very happy to be back and also ready to report on the more popular topics that I've missed in my absence. Mainly, of course, the first one being Kathleen Kennedy. We got a trailer for Andor Season 2, some books came out, and of course, Star Wars Celebration. So I figured I would, follow the flow and do what everyone else is doing and start talking about Kathleen Kennedy, considering she lives in everyone's heads rent-free. Earlier last week, Puck reported that she would be stepping down as the president of Lucasfilm, and of course, the internet, as it does, went ballistic with this news, as if we don't hear that she's retiring or getting fired every single day. So let's back it up a little bit. Last week, Puck had an article come out stating that Kathleen Kennedy was going to be stepping down as the president of Lucasfilm by the end of this year. And a lot of news articles took that and ran with it, and boy did it get misinterpreted. Because a lot of the articles that followed were just talking about her retiring, which is actually not what the article initially said. And shortly after that, Kathleen Kennedy came out to set the record straight, saying that she is not retiring, although I would not blame her for doing so. She is 72 years old, so still going strong, but there was at no point stated that she was actually going to retire. There is apparently some talks of who is going to be her successor when she inevitably steps down, but I don't think she's going to be retiring as some of these articles suggest. And even if she did, I do not know if the state of Star Wars would get any better or any worse on any other side of that argument. Because it looks like if she does step down from the role as president, she would still stay on as a producer or executive producer on a lot of the projects to follow. So everyone that thinks that her stepping down means we're getting rid of her, you're not out of that boat yet, I'm sorry. I do think it'll happen sooner rather than later, especially when you take into consideration her age. I'm sure she doesn't want to keep doing this forever, even though she does state in an article that she's going to do this until she dies. However, when you take into consideration that and the projects that we have lined up, I do not know how much she's going to be attached to moving forward. There's also the big question going around of who will take over as president of Lucasfilm after she steps down, and we're really only down to 3 choices, and the 3 names being thrown around are, of course, Kevin Feige, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni. I'm also seeing a lot of backlash against Dave, so I'm guessing he's probably not in the running. My personal pick of those 3 would probably have to be Jon Favreau. I feel like he's just got a little more involvement with Star Wars as a whole, whereas I know Dave Filoni is really only being creative on specific shows. It's a tossy thing. I really think it could go either way, but I do not see the overall projection of Star Wars changing that much compared to where we are right now. I know a lot of people are saying that George Lucas is going to come out of retirement and start running it again. That's never going to happen. He's done. He had his time, and it's interesting because if Lucas was in charge right now and all of the projects that came out stayed exactly as they are, if the trajectory of Star Wars stayed where it's at and Lucas was at the helm, would he be the problem? Things to think about. But I say with the initial lineup because there's a lot of movies that have been announced, and I know it's really easy to throw the blame on Kennedy because she is the sitting president. However, there's other people we can look at when talking about things that went wrong. For example, I know a lot of people weren't exactly the happiest with the Kenobi series, and a lot of people started going after the director and then Kathleen Kennedy. Whereas, Tony Gilroy makes Andor, and it's fantastic, but we don't give Kennedy any credit for that. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm supposed to place blame on things I like versus things I don't like. But I really do think that we need someone that we can lay blame to, in the sense that we need to stop announcing projects before they're even real. We always talk about going back and forth with all of these movies that have been announced since, the Rian Johnson trilogy, the Lando show that is now a movie, we have the Mando movie, the Rey movie, Sean Levy's getting a movie, James Mangold's getting a movie, Taika still has a movie apparently, Patty Jenkins, who knows what's going on with Rogue Squadron. So there's 8 projects right there, but the key thing is, a lot of these were never officially announced. They were just brought up in conversation, and then, reporters did what reporters do. So for a while there, I didn't even think the Sean Levy movie was actually going to be happening, because all of the reports that I saw stated that Sean Levy had pitched a script to Lucasfilm, but that he was never brought on to make a movie. Now it looks like that is the case, considering in the most recent interview where Kathleen said that she's not retiring, that she's actually going to be producing Sean Levy's movie. So I'm guessing that one got greenlit, which, I mean, like, I'm all for more Star Wars, so that's great. But we need to really keep a real track record of what's actually going to be coming out, especially considering what is announced and what is speculated. So right now, with the latest movie coming out being the Mando and Grogu movie, it's going to be interesting to see what happens after that. I'm not entirely sure how much the audience is going to be wanting to go and see that movie, considering what some of the other projects that are lined up, such as the Rey movie or the Dawn of the Jedi movie. But that's what I think Star Wars Celebration is going to be for, so we're going to put a pin in that and come back to it later. But on the more positive side of things, you know, depending on who you are, I suppose, the Andor Season 2 trailer came out, and I'm pretty excited for it, which is funny because I'm going to pull up this tweet that I made because I knew this would happen. I'm not the biggest fan of Andor. It's not that it's bad, it's just not my personal style of Star Wars. It's very thick, it's very heavy. Which again is not a bad thing. It's just, you know, not the show that I was interested in at the time it came out. But I tweeted this knowing that as soon as I saw a trailer for it, I would be excited, because this happens to me with every Star Wars project that comes out. I'm a Star Wars fan, so of course that's going to happen. But I was really looking forward to it after I saw the trailer. Now, I know the big takeaway from it was the music. I know it's definitely a choice to put modern music in a Star Wars trailer. It's kind of strange. It doesn't really work. At the same time, I enjoyed it because I felt like it fit the theme of what Season 2 is going to bring, which is just about rebellion. Although I do see some of the downsides that people were talking about. I know the first time I watched it, I was laughing during the trailer, which I don't know if that was necessarily supposed to happen, because you go from all these cuts, specifically, you know, when you have Andor walking, the music cut and he hits the switch and an explosion happens behind him. That's very comic relief for like those action films that we typically see. And then cutting away from the music entirely to Saw Gerrera yelling at a soldier, "You're here, you're right here, and you're ready to fight." It felt something like an early 2000s like action comedy thing. That's just kind of what it felt like to me. Doesn't mean it's bad, but I can see why adding different music other than what we're used to for Star Wars can definitely overall affect the tone of a trailer. I am very interested, however, in the timeline in which the show is supposed to take place, and I say that because it's supposed to take place over a 4-year span, and it's going to be a 4-week project. So every week we're going to be getting 3 episodes. There's going to be 12 episodes total. I don't know if I agree with that, because I know, you know, we like that 1-week wait period to make it last a little bit longer. But at the same time, I do agree with what Eckhart's Ladder said about this, where he mentioned that a lot of the discussion around Andor Season 1 happened at the end of every arc. So each arc in Season 1 was about 3 episodes. So by the time that 3rd episode ended, that's when a lot of the discussion started to boil down. So maybe this is a good thing, especially since there's going to be a 1-year gap between each set of 3 episodes. So that's probably got something to do with it. They want to make sure, okay, you get the picture here, we're going to jump ahead a year, and now we're here. I'm still going to be excited to see where it's going to be going, especially since we have a new book that just recently came out that they say Andor fans are going to love. So I don't know if it's going to directly tie into it, but I have a feeling it's going to set up a lot of the background that goes into Andor Season 2. And that is the first of a new book trilogy written by Alexander Freed, Mask of Fear, Reign of the Empire. Now, like I said, this is a book that people say Andor fans are going to love, but keep in mind, I have a feeling that this is going to be a heavy read. This is going to be more on that political side, considering it's just going to be talking about, you know, creating a resistance against a fascist empire, which of course is what Andor is about. But I know Alexander Freed very well. He wrote Twilight Company, he wrote the Alphabet Squadron trilogy. I love both of those books, but I do know they're very dense. They're very detail-oriented. I know it's funny to say that the book was very wordy, considering it's nothing but words, but it's very dense and there's a lot that goes into it. So I think he's perfect for writing this story, especially since it'll revolve around Mon Mothma and Bail Organa. So while it may be a really heavy and dense read, I imagine when paired with Andor Season 2, it'll probably have a good payoff. But wrapping around to where I said let's put a pin in it before, I am very excited for Star Wars Celebration to be right around the corner, especially considering the last one we had was in 2023. It feels like it's been forever, but it's going to be going on in Tokyo April 18th through the 20th, so I'm definitely taking that Friday off from work. But I'm very interested in what do you think you're doing? but I know that this is the place where all of the action happens and a lot of the breaking news comes from. So I'm very excited, especially since, we're supposed to be seeing the potential of some information on Ahsoka Season 2. Very much looking forward to that. I expect we'll see a actual trailer for The Mandalorian and Grogu, one that's not just for the audience in attendance. Fingers crossed. I really hate when they do that. But also, I think we're going to get some of the titles of some of the upcoming films. So we may get a title for the Rey movie. We may get a title for the Dawn of the Jedi movie. And I guarantee that we will get a title for the Sean Levy movie, considering Kathleen's been talking about that quite a bit. Another thing that I've heard rumored to happen is getting a reveal trailer for the final Jedi game, which I would be absolutely hyped for. If you haven't heard or haven't played Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, highly recommend. Fantastic game, fantastic story, fantastic characters. Definitely worth your time. So I would love to see what a trailer is going to be looking like for this final game and where it's going to be taking Cal Kestis, because we all want to see him on screen somewhere else, so I'm really hoping he doesn't die in the end of this game. Other than that, we don't know much about Star Wars Celebration this year. I've seen some announcements of some of the guests that are going to be appearing on stage there. I'm just waiting to see if any of those people are going to be bringing up any major news. Probably not, but hey, you never know. Regardless, I'm looking forward to it. I know everyone loves Star Wars Celebration, so I'm hoping for big things this year. But that's pretty much it for the big topics that I've been seeing floating around the last few weeks. In other news, I recently picked up the Dark Falcon Lego set from the Rebuild the Galaxy miniseries. It's a fantastic set with a great design, awesome minifigures such as Jedi Vader and Darth Jar Jar, and it's an overall great display piece. However, I have yet to recover from the sales tax on this thing, but I regret nothing. Anyway, that's all the news that I wanted to cover today, just based on what I've been seeing online. Nothing too exciting, but hopefully some big news drops here in the next week. Regardless, thank you to everyone who stuck around to this point in the video, and we hope to see you again very soon.